I don't know what all that noise is. I guess I'm making noise. Hey, Krabby the Beagle, how are you? Your first one to say hello. I was trying to turn my phone down from the other um from my phone. So, how are you this week? What have you been up to? I've been going through old pictures. I hope y'all don't mind sharing some of the little goodies that I found this week. Linda, you can just call me Linda. Now on my craft channel is Little Wendy's Daydreaming. Hey Danny, how are you? Oh, you scheduled your live for 11 today. That that's okay. Mine is 12, but I'm in the Eastern Standard Time. But we'll catch up. It's cool. Yeah, when I came back from California, I brought a pretty good size, I would call it a satchel of old photographs. My sister had been scanning them, and she said, "Oh, I just sent you a whole bunch of stuff home." And so I started going through it. It's amazing some of the things that we kept that we probably didn't know that it was, I don't know, interesting to see later. Um, my immunization card when I was just 2 months old. I mean, that's a long time. I'll tell the story about why we always got immunizations. For those that have not heard me talk about it before. Um, but yeah, I found it really interesting. Some of the things that she found. Some of them were from my mother's pictures. Some of them were from my sister's pictures. Um, Probably a little of everything. And some were from the ones from my mother's pictures were pictures that all of the family had sent to her over the years, send a picture and a card. Um, um, so yeah, it was just all these little collections of pictures. Some of them I remember sending, and some of them I've never seen before. So it may have been pictures my sister took, and when we take 1,500 photos, she might send two or three of the better ones that she likes, but some of the other ones we didn't see. So you know, it's just kind of fun going through them. And I have some things that I found in my brother's. He gave me a huge sack of just pictures and letters, and some of them were from him, some were from my grandmother. Um, so I'm going to be scanning all of those. Um, Thanks to my brother-in-law, he sent me a scanner, one of these little portable scanners that I'll be able to scan all of these letters and photos as long as they're not in a book, because you have to put them through it. You don't just scan the top of them. Oh, hello, Gummy Doolittle. Um, Gummy changed her name. This is Donna, my sister. So as I'm talking about her, she comes on. Um, so Donna, I hope you don't mind me sharing some of the information that I got in my packet. These are, I think, all of her pay slips. I guess that's what they called them back in the 70s, was pay slips. So I hope she doesn't mind me sharing her pay slips. So I found them quite interesting, and she can tell me who it was for, but it didn't say the employer, it just said his name, but I can't remember the name of the business, but I'm thinking it was like a hamburger stand or something like that. Hey, Kathy, how are you? Good morning. Glad you caught me. At least until your internet goes out, right? Hey, Nisi, how are you? I'm glad you came in. I was just saying that I have been going through um some old things, letters, pictures, things like that that my sister sent. And I found it so interesting how much money she got paid or didn't get paid. Um these days I think it would be called highway robbery. But it is really quite interesting. And she even has them stapled all together, you know. I didn't find any of mine, so maybe I didn't keep mine, but she kept hers. And she may be able to tell me what some of these things are on here. But Donna says, good days back then. I was 16 and it was Walt's Hamburgers, her first job. Oh, Kathy, you're having trouble staying awake? You must have been up all night. So 16 and Walt's Hamburgers. Um, that has to be that little hamburger stand that was like the next block from where we were living, um, that made the best tacos. I think anytime we had got any babysitting money, that's where we went. We went to the taco stand or the burger stand and treated ourselves with something to eat. And but back then it was a pleasure to get something, something that was different. So anyway, this is let me tell you how much money she made an hour. Um okay, that one doesn't say. Okay, here's one. She made $1.70 an hour. Uh Donna says she can still smell the hamburgers. Yes, it was a block from us. That's what I thought. She worked 30 and a half hours at $1.70, 16 years old, and it looks like it was in the evenings or on maybe on Saturdays too. Her gross earnings, well, no, her total wages was $47.85 for that week. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. And they took out, Donna, they took out $4. Did they make you pay for your hamburger when you was eating? It says meals. They charged her $4 for meals a day. So, well, that's crazy. You work all that time and then they wouldn't even feed you. So that is what she made at 16 years old. I remember my first job. Um, I was 15, so I probably went to work right after she did. I worked in a truck stop. We used to call them greasy spoons. Anybody ever hear that saying? But it was in California, in Oildale, California. And so I worked in this truck stop with my grandmother and I washed dishes for her, but she only worked nights and she would get off like at 6 in the morning. So I had to figure out how to stay awake all night at first. And honestly, I did try to serve some meals, but the eggs ended up in somebody else's toast, and I, I was not cut out for being a waitress. So I just washed dishes. That was fine. Um, uh, Donna said that was for a whole week for meals, $4. You know, $1 a day when you worked. Because I know there was a couple on here, Donna, that it said no meal, so they didn't charge you any extra for that day. But that was that was an interesting. I didn't find mine, but here's something I did find of mine. Um, This is my polio immunization. I was 2 months old. I was born in May. It started in July of 1956, and it says that I had 3 boosters. I had 3, DPT shots and diphtheria. I can't remember what all that means. And then I had a booster in 1960, and then there's nothing else after that. I had a smallpox in 1957. Um, and the polio was in 1957. There's the reason for the polio. Um, at first, my dad did not take us. You'd have to go to the um, what is it called? It's not the welfare department. Is the county health department? Okay, they would take us and give us the immunizations. He didn't do that in the beginning. Um, he didn't uh, make sure, and he was always the one who took us um, to the doctors. My mother didn't drive, and she had other little ones at home, so she had to take care of them. Um, and so we didn't have our polio, but one one night in 1955, it was in the summertime, August, I think. Um, my one of my older brothers, Jimmy, um, he'd come down with a terrible fever, and he was having spasms. He came down with polio. Um, and they rushed him in to the doctor. He stayed 2 months, I believe, in the Children's Hospital in Oklahoma City. But see, none of us had been vaccinated for the polio. After this happened, my dad took us all to get our polio vaccinations from then on. He didn't take a chance. But Jimmy stayed 2 months in that children's hospital. Then he was transferred to a rehab hospital. He had to learn how to walk again. And he was doing really well. And the story goes that someone had left a window open. Mind you, there was no heat and no air. If there was heat, it was those radiators, they called them. Um, but they left a window cracked open, and he took pneumonia, and um, he died on Christmas Day. And after that, he was 4 years old, almost 5 years old. After that, my dad never took a chance on us again. He always made sure we went and got our immunizations. I was born 6 months later, and yeah, because you can see, he made sure that I went and had my immunizations. But so that's the story. Oh, I did find, okay, we'll see how good Donna was, my sister. This is a report card. I have one for me too. Um, there's one for me and one for her, and I don't recall. Yes, it was. It was very sad, Nisi. For years, my mother um, did not really talk about Jimmy. We knew that he had died. Well, I knew because I was told. I wasn't born. But my sister Donna and my older brother Gerald and Jack, they were the babies at home. So this is our report cards. This is from California. Um, I grew up we moved to California in 69. So from 69 to 74, I went to school out there. Um, this, these were printed and they were mailed. And I wonder why they were mailed. Probably because they didn't trust the kids to take the report cards home. Kathy says I'll have to watch again. It's buffering. Okay, I understand. I understand, Kathy. I'll catch you later. And Donna says that's when we all got our shots at school with a traveling medical trailer. Oh, okay. So they would go, and that wasn't from the health department. Okay. Um, so anyway, these are our report cards. Conversational Spanish. Ooh, she made all A's. Math, she made a B and 2 C's. Um, PE. Now, how can you fail PE? Really? C. She might, if you don't dress out on some days, they count it against you. But she made B's. Um, and I don't know what GPE 1112 is. Okay, good, Kathy. That's good. Um, so that was Donna's. Oh my goodness. Whatever GPE. Oh, that must be PE. Oh, she made a D. She made a D. Um, PSYCH, psychology. She made a B in psychology, so I guess that makes up for it. Okay, here's mine. Um, History. I made a C. Donna says I was so embarrassed they were shorts. Um, Two, they were shorts. I guess I missed that. Anthropology. I took anthropology. I made a C. In PE, I made a B. Student teaching, I made an A. I must have been good. Um, Donna hated PE. That's why she got a D. Student aid. So I did student teaching and student aid. I got A's in both of those. And then I got something, let's see, PE was a B, anthropology, history, a C, and 20th century. What was 20th century? Um, that might have been English. I got an A. Whatever it was, I got an A. So yeah, so those were some of my little goodies that I found. This was my favorite thing that I found. Look at this. I had my name on it. This is an envelope for an original report card. This is when they were like little folders, and I want to share something here. On the back, you had to have signatures. See that? My mother signed this one. My dad signed this one. This is the last thing that I found that has his signature on it. This was the 1964 to 65 report card, and he passed away in 1965. So this is one of his last signatures. Um, and he signed it. So he must have been proud of me then. But okay, I got a bad citizenship mark. I got to tell you. Down here, everything else is I'm very my attitude towards work, schoolwork was very commendable. I got to check on that. I was very satisfactory in group participation and citizenship. I got a mark, and it said first I had very good habits, works well with others, obedient and courteous. That was really important in school. They don't have that these days. Um, and then I got a mark that said, I whisper, I talk too much. Who knew that? And so, oh my goodness, I got I got two, I got two talks too much, two different periods, 6-week periods. And look in this one here, I was annoying others. That is hard to believe, isn't it? Donna says I was sassy. Maybe I just didn't want to cooperate. I don't know. Um, but I can honestly tell you guys I got good grades. I really got good grades. A's and B's mostly, a couple of C's. Oh, there might have been a D down there. Um, but I actually got good grades. Most of the time I was absent no and I was tardy no days. We rode a bus. How could we be tardy if we rode a bus? Unless we missed the bus. Um, Deportment, I'm not real sure what deportment means. have to look that up. I made C plus, C, C minus. Arithmetic, I made straight B's all the way across most of the time. English, I made B's and A's. Geography, I made A's and B's and one C plus. I was probably right on that scale. Writing, I made B minuses and a C plus. Reading, writing, arithmetic, and reading. See the three R's. Kids don't know what that is these days. Ooh, there's a gnat after me. Um, Reading and spelling and science, I averaged out an A on all of them. And art, I made A's and B's. So who could gather? But this, and my teacher has signed me, and I was promoted to fourth grade. I got promoted, and it doesn't say promoted on, what do they call it these days? On condition. Kids these days, they're promoted on condition that they can stay up, and if they can't stay up, then they're sent back. So that was my homemade envelope and my 1964-65 report card. So that was I mean, I found it interesting. So what have you guys been doing all week? Anything good? Anything fun? Um, let's see. Monday, I sheared another one of my sheep. Um, I had to get some of the yuck off of them. And this time there was no one home. I just got tired of waiting. Everybody has jobs, and so I tied this little sheep to the fence post. I did a lot of YouTubing, and I saw some ladies doing it, and so I tied him to the fence. And at first he wasn't happy about it, and then he got better. Um, he he started just standing there, and so I started clipping. I had to do it by hand because I was out in the pasture. I didn't have any electric. Um, I didn't have any of that set up. I would have to have a really long extension cord to where I was standing. But when you catch them, you work where you're at. I didn't want to drag him off to another position because then that would might stress him out. I did have to let all the other goats out of and the sheep out of the pen because when he got tied up, I guess they thought it's battering time. So they were all trying to whip him and they were being mean to him. So that's what I did. I tied him up and I started clipping, and it took me a little while, but the top part wasn't bad at all. But then when I got to the really nasty stuff, mm, it was bad. So I did put a video up. I think I put it on Little Wendy's Daydreaming. But I am washing his wool now to try to see if I can get the portion up from the top blanket. So I'm trying to get that clean. So we'll see. Um, my chat stopped moving. Everybody stopped talking? Um, I thought maybe it was me. But anyway, that's what I did. I had to give myself a rest because the next day my back was hurting. Um, but I did get him cleaned off, and I got a good little portion of wool. And his wool is really white, but now the poor thing, he just looks like I dipped him in yellow. All of that lanolin is really sticky, and honestly, I don't mind the smell of lanolin. It just reminds me of lotions. So, if I've still got a couple of brown ones to do and one more white one, but now that I know I can do it by myself, I'm going to finish it. I have to get all the yucky stuff off before winter because then, I mean, it's been raining every day. So I had to pick a day where I had at least one day that it wasn't raining, and that's what I did. So um I did that. I'm cleaning out I'm working on my next room. We're gonna work on the office on our remodel of the farmhouse. So he wanted to do the kitchen, but that one's too much work. Actually, I mean, I just wasn't ready to do it, and so the office was much easier to clean out. So I'm cleaning the kitchen out. I've got some of my canned goods, my canning stuff in there too. So get that cleaned out, and we'll start pulling up carpet and taking down the wallboard and seeing. I think the floor is pretty level, so we won't have to re-level the floor. Oh, oh yeah, the lamb does look good. He in one of the pictures I took of, his name is Harry, and the other one's name is Potter. These are 2 that I rescued. Um, Poor thing, I think the dog they were in with had been pulling on their fur, and they had big patches missing, and so I guess I'm lucky I got a handful of wool to play with. But I'm doing an experiment. I'm gonna see if this is too dirty. How dirty is too dirty to clean? I did not keep the felted poo stuff. That'll go in the garden compost. So yeah. Oops, I accidentally touched something. Um, so that was my big job, and I also did a couple of batches of homemade soap. Um, I've done. I really did several. I wanted to send some up to Kentucky with Kathy. She's going to be stopping by. Donna says canning jars in the office and a beautiful old fireplace. Yes, I can't wait to take that old closet out and find the um the chimney is still there in the house part. Um and I think it's missing at the very top going out. So I don't think it can be used. But I think we're going to leave the brick, and I want to just, use it as, a conversation piece, I guess. At one time, the office was the dining room to the kitchen. It was, it had a wood burning stove, and um, I don't even think there was a partition between that and the bedroom. Um, a partial wall, maybe. Hey, Verna, how are you doing? She's listening and grocery shopping again. Yeah, I did a little bit yesterday in the grocery shopping. We got a new Big Lots. And that's a big thing. I mean, not my county. I have to go to the next county, which is only 4 miles. But it's a nice, clean store. We had a grocery store there called Bilo's, and I loved it because they always had buy one get one freeze every week, and I love shopping there. Got good deals, but it went out of business. So we got a new Bilo's, and I went down there to check out. And the store is very clean, of course. It's a new store, and they carry quite a bit of grocery things, quite a bit. Oh yeah, Verna. Donna changed her channel to Gummy Doolittle, and she put her. Did you put your first video out there? Her little introduction video, I think she did. And uh, when I think about it, I'll try to leave her link to her channel so that anybody wants to go over there um, and check out her video. But she does a little backstory about how she got her name, and it's kind of cute. So anyway, we're glad you're listening, Verna, even though you're working. Um, you know, this is my day job, so I can sneak off and do a live stream, and nobody'll know because nobody's here. Except for in case somebody watches though. Sometimes I get caught. The dog is sleeping. He's sleeping today. He uh he had a hard morning. He played outside for a long time, and it's warming up pretty good today. Too bad I don't have time to go shear another sheep. But I did get that one done, and like I said, I got 2 batches of soap done yesterday, but they're not cured enough to cut, and I may have to rebatch them. I just somehow something I may have gotten too much oil in it. Somehow um I didn't do that right. Oh yeah, you did a little TikTok too. Um I'm not very good at I'm on TikTok, but I'm not very good at putting up stuff over there. Um I don't know why, cuz I have so much going on, I guess. Thank you for the thumbs up, guys. I appreciate that. Um Niecy said, "I've got to head out and go into town." Oh, good. Um, I hope you have a nice day. Um, I know it must be pretty weather up there this week. We've just been having rain every day, but I'm glad you stopped by, Niecy. Thank you. And I'll try to catch you on one of yours. Um, and let's see who else is left in here. I got to share this. This picture came this if you've never been to Bakersfield, California, there's a place called the Crystal Palace, and it's owned. Well, then um, I think Buck Owens had already been gone, but we met there. My brother from Texas was out. We came out from Arkansas. No, we were in Georgia already, and we came out, and so we wanted to go eat at the Crystal Palace. I think my brother's daughter was with them. And guess who sat on the stage that night and was introduced as a new up and coming artist? Was Taylor Swift. She came with her guitar and her long wavy hair and her cowgirl boots, and she sat on a stool and she sang us some of her songs. Um, I'm not sure which one she sang that night. And she signed, we got in line and she signed a photograph for me. And I brought it home and showed my kids uh, later. And one of my daughter-in-laws actually took it to school. She taught sixth grade then, and she took it to school and said, that I had met Taylor Swift, and they thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, this is what I ordered that night because I didn't know any better. All I knew is everybody kept saying you've got to try the chicken fried steak. Got to try. They got the best chicken fried steak and mashed potatoes and cream gravy that you ever tasted. So that's what I ordered. When it came, I thought, "Oh my gosh, I should have I should have shared that with about 5 people." Is that not something? And Donna probably doesn't remember this. And sitting next to me was my brother Gerald from Texas. And he said, "Oh Lord, I don't think I can eat this." He said, "Why didn't we share a meal?" And we didn't know. We had no idea I mean, that chicken fried steak must have weighed 5 pounds. And I ate a little of it, and I took most of it home. And I think I ate on it like 3 days we were there. But I wasn't going to waste it. At the time, I think it was about $15, and this was in 2006. So I can't imagine how much it cost right now. But yeah, definitely that was an experience. Donna says she sang her song she wrote and the KUZZ radio station was owned by Buck Owens, and they played her first song. Um, and for some reason I want to think one of them was about Tim McGraw, but I can't remember if that one came later. But I remember it was so catchy, and she had such a sweet, soft voice, and everybody loved her. We were just, excited. We didn't know who she was. Well, she was no one. She was a little girl that I don't. Seems like she lived in Tennessee at the time, but she came down with her dad, and um, she just sat on the stage and had an open mic and started playing. So it was kind of cool. So yeah, I did love that. Now this is my sister from Texas. for anybody who doesn't know, and later, Verna, I have to look after she's not working. This is Norma Gale, and she is one of my older sisters. Let's see if I can keep it from moving. Um, Norma Gale, there's a glare on it. There you go. Norma Gale is a champion barrel horse racer. In here, she was around 70, 74, something like that, years old. And um, the very next year, she was training to go to another race. She was in the seniors group then. So she was racing, competing, and the next day, and she was doing a little trials, and her horse stepped in a gopher hole, and he flipped on top of her, broke her elbow and her shoulder, punctured her lung. She got a concussion. Um, and believe it or not, she never got on a horse again. At 75, she was forced to retire because she had vertigo from the concussion and she could not compete again. It broke her heart. At 75, she's 82 now, and she still has the horses. They're 35 and 40 years old, I think, her horses. She's got three horses. Then they're Indian paints. But she raised these horses from babies and she trained them. Um, Amazing, amazing sister, I'm telling you. And this is the sister from another mother. Um, Donna and I was from the same mother, Norma Gale, and here is the other sister. This is the sister that we lost. Um, she she is it's in the pink here. She's in the pink. That's Wanda, El Wanda as we call her, and there's Norma Gale. So these two girls came from the same mother. This is Wanda's husband, Cameron. We have lost Wanda and Cameron both. And of course, me in the red. And then my older brother, Gerald, he's in between Donna and Jack. Um, but this was a time where I actually was visiting Oklahoma, and we all got together and we had that picture made. Donna was not there that year; she was not able to come. So that is Elwanda. Elwanda, um, we did not know it. She had early onset Alzheimer's, and she had just turned um let's see 2008. She passed away in 2008, but 2005. Hey Chuck, good morning, how are you? Well, afternoon. Yes, I'm doing good. So I just was showing my some of my family pictures. So that is me and my sister that I lost, Elwanda, and Norma Gale is my barrel horse racing sister. I got to get that flash off of there. And me, and then one of my older brothers, and my brother-in-law is in the back. So Norma Gale and Elwanda is diabetic. She was diabetic and she walked every day. She contracted West Nile virus. They lived in Oklahoma, and it was really bad back in the 2005. Hey Tony from Cattle Kitchens, how are you? Um, so West Nile virus was really bad in that around the 2005. Horses were even getting it. They owned cattle, but Elwanda would walk every day. They had 200 acres, and she would walk those acreage every day. But she was always very careful. Had long sleeves. She put hats on, and she had boots, and she was always real protective. And she always had something with her because she'd run into snakes and stuff like that. But she would walk this property by herself every day, trying to keep her weight down because of her diabetic. And I talked to her on July the 31st, her birthday. 2 weeks later, they called me and said that she's in the hospital. They think she has West Nile virus, and she never knew me again. She had early onset Alzheimer's, which we did not know, and she lost all of her memory. She didn't remember any of us. Didn't remember her husband, didn't remember um her sisters, her daughter, no one. And I did go to Oklahoma and went up to see her every day for a week. I was there for a week. But she never showed any signs of knowing me at all. So that's a sad part about West Nile virus. If you have a vulnerability, if your system, if you have something weak, what if you were going blind or you were losing your hearing? It's possible that the virus would attack the weakest part of your body, and that's what happened with her. She was early onset Alzheimer's, and her mother had it, her grandmother had it. Um, so, I mean, it was a big worry, but we didn't know that, and she never knew me after that. And that's something that's I've always just um, it's hard because I'm sitting in the room with her, and she smiles at me like she knows me, and then she'll say, "Who are you?" And so, yeah, so it really kind of hurt. But those are facts of life, and sometimes you can't change that. Oh, Tony, I was just reading up on my the competition coming up, the collaboration, trying to get my rules together and trying to make sure I did everything correctly. Um, So you were on my mind. I even printed out the calendar. Um, but I do have a couple of questions, so I'll send them to you on Facebook. Um, but anyway, one other photo I'll show you guys. Yes, I did. You know what it was? I saw my name on there as a bonus video, but I thought, did he ask me to do the other video also, or was I just the bonus video? So I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss. I'll call you. Yes, I will. This photo, this is one that was sent to me from California with the packet that I brought home with Donna. This is my Uncle Doc, my dad's brother. He was born in 1912 and he passed away in 1995. I thought he's holding a baby pup. He's holding a baby fox. This is a, it's hard to see, but he is holding a baby fox. I got to get the glare. The glare is bad. That's about it because the picture is actually glared. But he's holding. I don't know if you can see it, but I thought it was a puppy. And the more I looked, I thought that's a fox. Where in the heck did he get a fox? And behind him is the chicken coop. He actually lived in the chicken coop. After my grandmother passed away, he refused to sleep in the house where she would slept. And so he set up an army cot in a little room near the chicken coop, and he would have to go through the chicken coop to go out. So, and that was in Oklahoma. They probably wouldn't allow people to do that now. But but I mean, she gave me some really cool pictures that I had not seen before, or and then I've got some that uh you know this is going to show my age. This is not, I was 2 years old. Um with my little cowboy boots. I'm the little girl that's squinting, the little bitty one. Donna's the bigger girl. So she would have been 4 and I was 2. And we only got dressed up when my grandmother and what we thought was our grandfather, later we found out he was not, but he would acted like our grandfather. Every time he came, he would bring us something. We got new boots, we got new clothes, so they always brought us something. And it wasn't just the girls, it was both of us. These are later on. I found these, and I'm the one in the green dress. Let's see if I can get the thing off. And I'm still squinting. So that's oh, I just quit growing. I should have been as tall as her, but I quit growing. But that's some of my funky little pictures. Um, later, my first pair of glasses. Have y'all got pictures of your first pair of glasses? Look at this. Those are cat eye glasses, and I did have dark hair at one time. But that was there's no date written on it, but it had to have been I know I got my glasses when I was, maybe 10 or 11, something like that. So, but yeah, I wore cat eyes, but other than that, um, I did. I really had dark hair, and that wasn't dyed. That was in my chunkier days. But, I had these big old goggle-looking glasses. I think you got a glare on that. Oh, I love looking at older photos. You missed it. I'll pull it out again. I found my, um, homemade jacket, uh, for my, um, for my report card in 1964, 65, and, this is in 2007. I remember this. This was my one, two, my third grandchild. Um, I still had some dark hair then, so I've been losing my hair. Donna says I wore size 6X, six dresses for years, and Mama thought you would never grow taller. Yeah, it's like I was stunted, and now I'm about 2 inches taller than Donna. I always throw that up to her too. This one was me and Donna and three of our brothers. Think you got. I'm in the white shirt down there. The kids are laughing at me. They said, "Mom, you had a mullet?" Of course, I didn't know it was called a mullet. No glare. Okay, I didn't know it was called a mullet. I had no idea. Um, this is one of my best pictures I took in a long time. We went to a Christmas party, and y'all, we are not Christmas party people. We don't go. We got Coke. We're not drinkers. We've never hung out with the drinkers or the smoking crowd or the drinking crowd. That's just not us. How many brothers and sisters? Um, we are uh I am one of nine. My brother that passed away and my two older sisters, the one that I lost and the barrel horse racer, she lives in Texas still. Um, then you add those three, so my dad had oh 11 children because I counted Jack already. So yeah, he had 11 children, and um, we lost my little brother Jimmy at 5 years old to polio back in the 50s. And we lost Elwanda is the oldest sister of all of the children. She's the first of the 11. We lost her in 2000. Gosh, isn't that awful? You start thinking about the dates through the West Nile virus. And then, of course, we lost Jack just this summer, and he was the oldest brother. So Norma Gale is the oldest sister now, and she's 82. So she was a whole generation older than us. We didn't grow up with the two older girls. Um, they were 18, 20 years difference, and they already were married and had families. We did go and visit them when we were babies occasionally. So there are a few pictures like that. And the only reason we have pictures is because they had cameras, we did not. So Chuck says, I think we were 11 in my dad's family, and I think only two of them are left. Well, 3 including my dad. Yeah, it is families were really large, back then. We were in Oklahoma. That's where we were pretty much all of us were either born in Oklahoma or Texas. Um, so yeah, 9 kids with our father. Yes. Um, and then is that right? 9? Oh, yeah, 9. Why did I count 11? Um, but anyway, so I've done genealogy research since 1985. And if y'all are interested in any of that, when I start scanning, I said thanks to Steve, my brother-in-law. He sent me a oh yeah, that's why I said 11 because James and Jack were half siblings. Um, he sent me a portable scanner, and I don't have it with me. It's only about that tall and maybe eight, 9 inches wide. So I'll be able to scan all these older photos, which is good. Okay, so since Chuck missed it, I'm going to show him my homemade. This is the jacket for my report card. Something happened and I got an ad on my face. There, it's gone. Um, this is this is my actual report card. It opens up. They're big report cards, all my grades. Down here, I got some bad marks because I talk too much and I annoy others. So apparently, they didn't like you talking out in school. Um, if that's the worst thing that I did, I guess it's all right. What grade? Um, okay, on the back it says that I was promoted to fourth grade. So I was in the third grade. And what is so unique about this is one of my father's last signatures right here. He signed it the second time. My mother signed it Mrs. and he signed it the second time. Um, and I know it was one of his last because this was for the terms 64 and 65, Zan Oklahoma, and he passed away in August of 65. So I feel like this is probably the last signature that he did for us on our report cards. So, and I guess this was part of the thing. We had to make our own jackets for our report cards. Now, the 2 report cards I found for California, it was all printed out and duplicate, and it was mailed. So I figured they didn't trust the kids to bring their report cards home in California. But in Oklahoma, they sent them home with the children. And so that was pretty cool. And but I've been going through some old photographs that my sister Donna uh and Chuck came in last. Gummy Doodle there above you is my sister. She finally did her first video, so she has a channel, and I got to get the link and put it up, but I don't know how to do it from here. But I'll put her channel. I'll share her channel out. So, but she was kind of nervous about doing it. She did a really good job. Plus, she did um, a little 30-second or 60-second one for TikTok also, and she explains the history of how she got her name, and um she is raising a great grandchild that is nonverbal autistic. And see, Chuck says I've seen where people are putting up old recipes from their parents and grandparents in their own writing, plaques, cutting boards, towels. Oh yeah, that would really be neat to have. um in We did find some recipes. There was one recipe that it said mom's biscuits, um, and it was my mother writing, so it was her mother's. And my mother had written it out because back then she just cooked. She didn't have a cookbook. She just cooked because she just learned. And my dad probably taught her a lot because he was 25 years older than her. And so I'm sure that he taught her most of everything she did. Um, but yeah, it would be kind of cool to have all that, um, those original recipes. I found an original recipe that my grandmother, my dad's mother, was born in 1897. My dad was born in 1908. I know he'd be he'd be way over 100 years old. Um, but the recipe, let's see, you could put your dad and your mom. Yeah, the recipe that I found was written by my dad's mother. My mom's signature on something. Yes. Um, she has she didn't sign this one. We just know it's her handwriting. And she said it was mom's. Her mom was a short order cook in the truck stop. That was my first job, in the truck stop, washing dishes. Um, and that doesn't mean, those plates were not Melmac then. They were stoneware. They were heavy. Um, Donna says, I have a pack of recipes and old letters and other things on the way when, oh, yeah, my brother Ricky is going to visit, him and his wife. Hey, Cottonwood Ranch, how are you? Nice to see you. So, my brother Ricky is going to be here the third week in September. Um, and so he's bringing something also. Um, so, it'll be kinda nice to go through all of that. These are things that I haven't seen in years if I did see them. But yeah, the older recipes, this recipe my grandmother wrote was for, uh, neck bone stew, and you know, we didn't eat steak. We butchered a hog once a year. This was in Oklahoma. We butchered a hog once a year, and we got a portion to take home, usually probably a ham or something like that. They rendered it out and used the lard all year round. These were the old ways. But these are in her writing, and I haven't run across them yet. I must have them in my safe because I've had them for years. But it was written out in pencil, and it said neck bone stew. And she wrote out what you're supposed to do. She didn't write it out like a recipe is written out now, where you have a little paragraph and you have all the ingredients listed. Every time she wrote another sentence, she wrote another instruction on what to do. So you had to go through and piece together the actual recipe at the end to figure out, what all of it was. So it was just, and she was writing it to someone she was sharing, and I think it was one of her sisters. And I don't know how I ended up with the letter. I honestly don't know where the letter came from, but it ended up in some of my stuff that I was working on, the genealogy. So, but I love genealogy. Do you guys love that too? Um, we, I mean, I never thought about it when I was younger. I wished I'd have started when I was much younger. I did start in 1984. My very first family reunion I went to was Hot Springs, Arkansas, Garland County. And the funny thing is, we were going for my my dad's side of the family, the Nelson side of the family. And they had a tour of the cemetery during this family reunion. And there was probably, I don't know, 100 people that showed up. My brother Jack from California and his wife came out to Arkansas, and some cousins from Oklahoma and Texas and Missouri. And I couldn't believe that I knew all these people I knew who they were, and a lot of them I didn't know. And so we tour the cemetery, and they tell us we're going to have a tour of the cemetery, and um you can count all of the relatives. Well, ended up we walked the cemetery, and they told the cemetery was Greenwood Cemetery, and it was a half a block from where Ricky's parents lived, and his parents grandparents were buried in that cemetery also. So we started walking around, and I couldn't believe it. There was my great great grandmother there, and grandfather. I had 17 people buried in that cemetery, and he had 2. And it's like, I didn't know we were all from this county. But the ferry that was named, Thornton Ferry, if anybody knows the area would know, Thornton Ferry was how they got from, um, across the river, and my great uncles built the ferry and ran the ferry, and the road was named after them, and the ferry was named after them. And I didn't know all of that until we started doing the research. And I also didn't know that my great great grandfather Nelson was a traveling preacher. He was a Methodist preacher, and he had 500 miles that he traveled, and he came from um, somewhere up in Missouri, and I can't remember right offhand the name of the town. But he made they called it a circuit then. Chuck would know about what this probably, not because you're old, Chuck, just because you're a preacher and you probably know some history. But he would travel this circuit, and they would come down from Missouri and all through Arkansas, and then they would go back up around, and they did this by wagon. And I guess they decided to stay in Garland County. They really liked the area. It was not harsh weather. So, and they didn't have the tornadoes that Missouri has. So he brought his family, and he actually settled in Garland County. And that's how my relatives settled there. And come to find out, Ricky's relatives, my husband's relatives, were from there also. But we didn't know that when we got married. And Lord, I hope we're not kin to each other. I thought about that later. It's like, our ties may be closer than we think, but they're not. We've done the research on both sides, so we're not related. So, other than having children and grandchildren. But anyway, that was interesting about the traveling. They, I guess they called them preachers. Um, they didn't they didn't call them ministers, I think, back then. We found some letters about the traveling preacher, and but it was a circuit. But it was just interesting. I guess that's why I got an A and a B in history, because I've always loved history. And when we started doing the genealogy, and we're still doing genealogy, although I can't imagine the time I can't find it. I mean, there was times where I would work 8 hours a day on the computer searching and looking. Oh, you're making some lunch. Oh, good. Hope you enjoy the lunch. I made chicken salad yesterday, so when I get back to my house, that's what I'm having is chicken salad. Um, I may make another batch of soap, and I got to get my recipe together for my collaboration video. I'm gonna try to do that this weekend, so I can get that done. I don't want to disappoint Tony and not get mine out in time. So I'm gonna do mine early. It never hurts to do it early. Um, but yeah, that's the history that we're still and we're really, since the passing of my older brother, we're going through photographs and different letters. I found letters that I had written to I guess she was my sixth grade teacher in Van Nuys, Oklahoma. We had already moved to California, and I found at least 2 letters from my English teacher, and they said how much they missed our family, and by then my mother had been trying to raise us on her own, because we moved out in 69 and my dad passed in 65. So for 4 years she really tried to make it. um, we went to the Nazarene church in Zanais, and the preacher's wife is the one who taught her to drive in her car. We didn't have, well, we had a car, but she didn't know how to drive it. So the preacher's wife taught her how to drive. And I remember her car, it had wings on the back of it. I don't recall if it was a Buick or a Chrysler or what it was, but I remember it had these big wings up on the fenders. It was kind of a cool car. Um, Chuck says I saw a documentary on some of the circuit preaching, but it was based more in the East Coast and followed the weather and the harvest seasons. You know, and it may have been the way um, my descendant ancestor, not my descendant, my ancestor did. It They may have only traveled certain times of the year, and I can imagine a 500-mile circuit would take them probably 6 months. Because they stopped and they had revivals in tents, and they did. A lot of them didn't even have actual buildings for the church. So I haven't found any records of his, and I'm sure there's somewhere, there is something documented about the traveling preacher when he would marry everybody when he came to these all of these towns. Then he would do the marriage ceremonies, and for some of them they would wait months before they could get married. They had to wait for the preacher to come. So not just everybody could marry them. And I did find my mother's marriage license. They got married in Childress, Texas. Um, it was 1947. She was 12 years old. Yes, I said it. She was 12 years old. And she lied. She told him she was 16. Now, she told me that herself, that she said she was 16. She looked older. Um, they run off, and when they got to California, the law was waiting on them. They put him in jail, they put her in juvenile hall, and my brother Jack was 18 months old and he went into child care. Blenda's great grandmother was 13. Okay, see, I knew that Shirley couldn't be the only person that their mother was 12 years old. And mind you, this was 1947. It wasn't like 1847, when a lot of girls did marry older men because maybe their sister was the wife of a man that had children and they needed someone to care for the children. A lot of times those were arranged marriages, or the family had so many children. The older ones were either the boys were farmed out to other farms to help those who needed it. The girls were married off. They couldn't feed them, so they were married off to an older man that had children, that for some reason his wife had passed or gone, or um, probably not as many just left home. That these women died in childbirth uh, quite often, and they would leave. In my research, I found one of my family members that had 17 children, and the woman, um, by the time she was 40, she was gone. I mean, she was just worn out. So um, these are, I guess they called them child brides, but she was 12. My brother was born at 14. So, finally, my grandmother got that straight and got him out of jail. And then she had to tell them that, now she told a big lie. She told them that she gave her permission to get married. But, she had to get him out of jail, because then she had to get um, my brother Jack out of jail, out of well, it was pretty much jail for a baby. It was child services. So yeah, but I could go on and on about history. So my sister and I, we've really started digging deeper with the genealogy. We have help. My two younger brothers, for the first time, have actually shown some interest. One is retired, one is not, but they've shown more interest in the family dynamics of where we came from. My niece, up in Colorado, she is very interested. So, it's like all of a sudden they all just woke up and it's like, tell us about where we came from, and why did this happen and that happen. So they're asking questions, and we have a lot of it documented because we've been working on it for years, just me and her, and the cousins, and my brother Jack that passed, and cousins that are all gone now. My mother's gone. So the oldest member of our family is my sister that's 82, and she wasn't raised with us, so there's a lot of things that she can't tell us about because she wasn't part of it. um but my brother that lives in Wichita Falls, Texas, um, he's 73. So he does remember a lot of things, and he's been helping us also. So we're trying to document as much as we can, because when our children get interested, they all have young families and they're busy. Well, I was that then too. I didn't think about it, but it's one of my great passions is the history um, of the family. I did find before I go, I did find one thing. I was with my mother and we found my dad's sister's grave. For years, she passed away when she was 30 years old, and she left two tiny babies, like a year old and 3 years old. And we believe she died in childbirth, but she was 30. And my dad knew where she was buried. He knew the cemetery. And my mom used to say he would go and walk this little cemetery. And it was just a little small cemetery, and um, outside of where we lived in Ringland, Oklahoma, um, at the time. And so we walked and we walked, and I got this idea. Um, Gummy says, life is taken for granted, and also you and I are now taking the time to share with siblings and other members of our family about our life. Yeah, and they really are interested now. So we walked, and I got this idea. It's like, by then I had been doing genealogy for a few years, so I felt like that I knew some of the questions to ask and where to ask them. So I went to the funeral home, and it's not a place that people want to go, you know. It's not like a touring place. So I went to them and I told them my situation. Um, my dad's sister, died in Cotton County on the border, and we couldn't figure out where she was buried, even though we knew she was buried in that cemetery. And they had the information. Oh, that funeral home that buried her was changed, and who I was talking to, theirs actually bought the information when it merged together. They had the original book where my sister-in-law was buried. Now, how lucky was that? And so she pulls it out and she finds out um, that her husband, which was much older than her, also he paid $100 for the casket and the piece of land, and opening and closing the grave, $100, which back in the it was in the 40s. It was that was a lot of money. So we found where she was supposed to be, who she was supposed to be laying beside. So they made us a copy of that. We went back to that cemetery. We found, see, by then her husband had died. So we found his grave. She was laying right next to him, but hers was an unmarked grave. So uh and his was unmarked for years, and finally his family marked it. Where my great aunt was buried was right next to the road, and if I mean, the road was almost on her grave, but her grave was unmarked. And so when my mother was with it, she said, "You know, your dad would just be so proud." She said, "Because he looked and looked, and he wanted to mark the grave, but he never could locate it." So that was one of my ingenious finds that I just really, it was a little research and a lot of luck that I found that. And she said, well, she said he would be really proud. And I said, well, he's looking down on us now. He knows we found it. And I contacted the family of the husband, and that's when they told me that they had, just a few years before that, they had put a marker on his went for 25 years without a marker. And so they were finally able to mark his, but they did not mark hers, which I don't understand, but they didn't mark hers. So, but that's the way it is. And but that was one of my proud moments, that I found something that my dad was really passionate about, was finding where his sister was buried. So, well, gosh, it's been an hour. Uh, yes. Um, it was my older brothers appreciated it, my younger brothers, they were wrapped up in their families, and they didn't know the people like I did, because I had been researching. And my sister did what she could from where she was at, but physically, I mean, we had to physically go to Oklahoma, which from Georgia is like 16 hours, which wasn't really that bad, but it was just one of those things. It was a proud moment, definitely. Um, so later on, they'll appreciate all the work that we all did to find out about our family. On both sides, we found some information on both that was. I mean, it every time I talk about it, I think I got to get back online, and now the 1950 census is out. Y'all know that? The 1950 census is out, and now I've got to go back and find out where some of these people were 10 years after. I did find my mother on the 1950 census. Um, no, 1940 census. She was 5 years old, and I found where the family in the town where she was living. But it was after she had passed. I couldn't share that with her, but I did find her as a baby. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, so I guess, uh-oh, now I messed up. There's something. s- Oh, the computer wants me to download something. Got to get it off of there. Okay. So I will let y'all go for the day. I appreciate you staying with me. And um oh, your dad was born in 35, Chuck. Wow. Yeah, my mom was born in 35. My dad was born in 1909. So you can tell the difference in their ages. Um, and my dad's mother was born in 1897. So there's a lot of history, and I have walked some of the paths that they have walked, and it is quite, um, I'd say, amazing. That word is not, it's not good enough. I think the paths that they fought, and what they endured, some of the lifestyles that they endured. I mean, they did the best they could, but it was very tough. It was a really hard time of the year, to live in Oklahoma in the Dust Bowl. And I mean, there was just so much going on that, I mean, it's just amazed me. I couldn't get tired of researching the family history, but to find out some of the information I did. One day my children will see what I did, because I put the records together. We all gathered, and but I put the records together on Ancestry.com. So I've got several family trees there that I've been working on for years. Um, so yeah, it's been very rewarding to walk the same paths that your family walked. So all right, Donna, we'll see you later. Appreciate y'all coming in and talking to me. And I hope I haven't bored you too much. Yeah, you'll see her again, Chuck. Um, she she got her one little video. Next time I'll put up her link. Um, I'll go back and make sure I have it handy uh, because I'm kind of tech challenged on the spot. But and I hope you have a good week, everyone. And I know I will see you. I'll see you again this week. I've got some more packing to do in the farmhouse so we can get to the next room. So that's what I'm supposed to be doing instead of relaxing. But what they don't know isn't going to hurt them, right? You got to stop and have lunch. So we'll see you guys next week. Um, Be sure and share it out if you can. I appreciate the thumbs up too. Thanks a lot. And we'll be talking again. Yeah, your dishes are calling you, Donna. All right, bye, the guys.